So apparently Kanye West has a new documentary. Welcome back to the channel again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for coming over. Got this video here from the Spill Sesh channel, which I'll leave in the description for you guys to check out more and even subscribe. Kanye West exposed a new documentary. You know, this brother is just up, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down, down. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. But I told you, sometimes he has a little truth sprinkled in there when he goes off. But we ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's jump right into it.
You guys, we need to talk about Kanye West because he has released a new documentary about his life and he is not looking good. He is screaming at Kris Jenner. The clip has gone viral and everyone is just coming at him. They feel bad for the Kardashians, which is not something that you hear very often, but we're going to get into what this documentary entails. And
boy, she ain't never lied. Feel bad for the Kardashians. Wow.
What people are saying online. The documentary, In Whose Name, directed by Nico Ballesteros, begins by looking back at Kanye West's career and the first cracks in his public image. It opens with the cancellation of his planned tour with Lady Gaga in the aftermath of the Taylor Swift VMA incident, where he went on stage, interrupted her speech, and it was this whole big situation. Obviously, it led to him and Taylor having beef for years. That was never fully resolved. I know they tried to be friends for a hot second there, but it was never going to be anything. Ultimately, that VMA incident was an early sign of how controversy would repeatedly derail his opportunities. Now we skip a few years and hear Kanye bring up being off his meds for a couple of months, telling Kim about how it's his calling by the universe, and throughout the documentary is constantly referencing his hospitalization in 2016 after abruptly canceling the remainder of his St. Pablo tour. The hospitalization plays a large role in this film, even though it was never shown, but it feels like something that Kanye is constantly bringing up as this breaking point almost. His experience through that and the way the media talked about him seems to have strained his relationship with family and also fueled this distrust of the media and industry figures in the years that followed in just how they talked about him. And the film touches on his political awakening from when he started wearing the red Trump hat in 2018 and delivered a very pro-Trump speech on Saturday Night Live, saying that they bullied him and told him not to go on stage and wear the hat, among other things, like saying every time you have a black subject matter like Bill Cosby that you have to have a black comedian talking about him. Cast member Michael Che confronted him afterward, especially about the comedian line, which he said that he felt like was about him, but Kanye claimed that he was saying that about somebody else. Michael also asked Kanye why he even called out the cast, saying that they loved him at SNL and that they did not deserve to be called out on stage on TV in that way, especially if they weren't going to be able to give a response. Kanye just seemed frustrated, saying that his issue was not with Michael, it was with SNL, and there was just this tense.
When was this? I didn't see this Kanye on Saturday Night Live. I didn't even hear that.
Moment where the two of them were talking about what just went down on SNL, and a third party had to come in and kind of calm things down and ask for the cameras to also stop recording. In the doc, he says that wearing the hat was about resisting control, but at the same time, he admitted that politics kind of scared him, that he felt his life was in danger when wearing it and when associating with politics. And even when he visited the White House, he told staff that he needed to come inside for his safety because he feared for his life and that whenever he's wearing his hat, his life is in danger. The film also captures how Kanye tried to blame the Kardashians for contributing to his mental health struggles, and Kris Jenner is seen in the doc breaking down in tears at one point as she is confronting Kanye, wanting him to take his medication, be okay, and Kanye saying he would rather be dead than be on his medication, and wanted Kris to admit that their family, the Kardashian-Jenner family, was responsible for his mental health.
Damn.
He claims that no one in the family was owning up to how they have an effect on him in his mental health. And Kris responds saying that they did have an effect on his mental health, but that, what people say online shouldn't be important. What matters is what people close to him think, and that she loves him and expresses a wish for him to be perfect and for Kim to be able to love Kanye the way he wants to be loved. After this, we see Kanye and the family go on a trip to Uganda, and Kim is emotional. She is sitting with people close to Kanye, and they are all pleading with him that he wasn't like this a couple years ago and he does need to listen to people. And Kim is talking about how he has got to accept being told no, reminding him that people say no to her all the time and she doesn't lash out in response. It was after this trip that it seemed that he took a step back from talking about politics because he was extremely paranoid. Even on this trip, he was paranoid about his own safety. So things calmed down. Him and Kim renewed their vows. She promised to be by his side, and he was entering this Sunday service era, presenting himself as reborn and more grounded in his faith. But in 2020, Kanye returned to politics by running for president. And around this time, he was also obsessed with building this new world in Wyoming, experimenting with sustainable Yeezy projects and architecture. But he was continuing with these crazy statements that caused chaos online and fans to question if they wanted to support him. And in him getting back into politics and going on these rants, he had once mentioned that him and Kim had considered not having North. And it was soon after that that him and Kim had filed for divorce, citing that they just could not make it work. The documentary also shows Kanye's belief that he was untouchable. It seemed like he thought that he could say anything and that he would face no consequences. He often spoke as if Adidas could never afford to lose him and that he made the company billions of dollars. It seemed to be why he felt like he could say any and everything, because he was so valuable to the company. He just thought that they would never be able to get rid of him. They couldn't afford that.
I mean, they got so many NBA players and athletes, and yeah. Again, he says a lot of outlandish stuff. And when you hear them talking about, or hear her talking about Kris Jenner crying, and like you hear about the medication, and it's a lot deeper. I think it's something very deep and dark, but you know, I feel like the more he says and try to expose that, he has the crazy label attached to him, so people aren't going to believe it. But that's why I said there is some truth sprinkled in there.
That type of loss. But as we know, the company did end up cutting ties with him after his anti-Semitic comments. And rather than slowing down, he doubled down, most infamously with his White Lives Matter shirts, seemingly refusing to acknowledge the real-world harm that his words caused. At this point, no one wants to work with him. Live Nation, AEG, they've reportedly refused to book him for tours, and even the Sphere in Las Vegas turned him down. Throughout the film, Kanye struggles to articulate what his story even is. He repeatedly complains that the media wants him to talk about being bipolar, but pushes back and reframes it as him being misunderstood, more himself off his meds, or targeted by outside forces. Essentially, he's aware that people interpret his outbursts as symptoms of mental illness, yet he resists that narrative because he doesn't want to be defined by it. Instead, he frames his behavior as intentional, political, spiritual, or even visionary, anything but a mental health crisis. He seems desperate to create, desperate to control his narrative, but also like trapped by his own actions. In an inability to take criticism or advice from those around him or loved ones, and clearly was what came between him and Kim. The Kardashians are extremely controversial, but those online have expressed the one thing about her is that she stood by Kanye.
As a person that used to love Kanye, and I used to argue people down about how he was just misunderstood and y'all just don't get it, y'all taking it out of context, I used to sound just like the MAGA people be sounding about Trump. But I say all of this to say y'all will never gaslight me into believing that Kim Kardashian was a bad wife to him and that she's the reason that he ended up the way that he is now. I don't think Kanye ever had good intentions for Kim Kardashian. I feel like he became so fixated on her beauty and the status that she was able to obtain without having a talent per se.
And see, it's kind of, it gets kind of weird for me when people say that, fixated on her beauty. Because like I said, there's so many people out there who, I remember Reggie Bush used to date her. And if you look at Reggie Bush's wife today, she damn near look like her twin. But people forget like the money they spend And I ain't saying she didn't look I thought she looked fine the way she was before she had all those surgeries and stuff. But there's a lot of people out there who try to get that look, and the girls be young, whether it's the getting their lips done, the nose, the cheeks, the eyes, the Botox, the butt, the like. I mean, they've had so much work done, you know. So when you say fixated on their beauty, it isn't the natural beauty, but that's what a lot of guys are into now. I told you we're going to get to the point in the world where if you don't have any work done, you're going to look like the weird one. You know what I mean? People are like, what? Like, you don't have any work done? That's weird. You know what I mean? That's where we're headed if we aren't there anymore. And for her saying like that Kim wasn't a bad wife to him, I kind of think it goes both ways with both of them, because all the rumors about Kim and her family, how she started off by saying nobody really, or people were feeling bad for the Kardashians, which is something you don't really see. It's because of their like reputation and stuff. But yeah, man, I think it goes both ways.
And I feel like he got with her because he wanted to control and belittle her. And once she wasn't letting that happen no more, that's when he really started airing out shit. I feel like she could have been exposed Kanye for who he truly is a long time ago, but she always kept it quiet about him.
I am not a Kim Kardashian fan. I do have to put respect on how she handles what I feel like would be stressful or chaotic situations. Let's talk about it. I just saw video clips of something that Kanye actually put out himself. But I guess he's doing this like documentary behind the scenes. I'm not sure what he's putting out, but it's him kind of going off on Kim and one of his relatives. He's extremely heightened in regards to his emotions, and he's just kind of going off. And you can see that Kim's becoming emotional in the sense of like starting to cry. But one of the things that I've always found fascinating about Kim, but I do think it's possibly a trauma response, is her ability to stay calm, cool, and collected in a chaotic, overwhelming, stressful situation.
The Kanye West documentary cannot be doing what Kanye assumed it would do. Because tell me why I sit here just feeling bad for Kim Kardashian. There's an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashian where Kim said that staying calm has always been her superpower. And I'm starting to think that was something she learned, not only from the Paris robberies, but from Kanye. Because the way that man reacts as soon as he is told no is worse than a 5-year-old.
Ultimately, it seems he insists he is more himself off medication, and he only wants people around him that get what his purpose on earth is. But longtime fans feel sad at the turn of events, like Michael Che tried to say that they were a fan but can't stand by what things have turned into. And in the end, Kanye seems willing to risk it all just to do what he wants, no matter the cost. And he's at peace with that, it seems. Like, he acknowledges everything that he's lost at the end, but he still seems like he's kind of okay with that. But it doesn't make the downfall any less tragic. So that's what's recently come out about Kanye. I certainly want to know what you guys think. If you've seen this doc, if you've seen clips from it, let me know all your thoughts. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next.
Yeah, I don't plan on watching it, but like I said, I know Kanye says a lot of outlandish stuff. I know he has a temper tantrum, like he can act very young and childish. And, I remember on an episode of Punk'd with Ashton Kutcher, when they did something and he took it and he said no and started running away. But again, I do believe it goes both ways, because this is the Kardashians that we're dealing with, I know it exposed him, like the documentary he did. He probably was doing this to, thinking he was going to get a different response, but obviously people are siding with Kim. I will say in this situation though, she did that. I will agree with that. She did stay pretty calm and kind of handle it well. Cause like I was talking about how he had like her the daughter North on the song with was it Diddy or King Kong or somebody? And I was like, what the hell? Why would you, at the end of the day, it's the kids. The kids are the one who are going to suffer, because they were talking about Kim how North, what she was wearing when she went out in public, and then you look at Kanye, it's like, you can't say nothing about how your daughter is dressing because you got your girl out there literally with no clothes on. So it's like, this is what you're representing. This, your daughter is going to see you and your girl out and about. It's just crazy, man. Crazy. But I feel like she did a good breakdown on this documentary. I don't need to watch it. But yeah, man, Kanye really, I just think back in the day when I worked at the Staples Center and I worked the Usher concert and nobody knew. Normally we'll have an idea of who's going to be the opening act. We had no clue. The supervisors, managers, nobody told us. We were just in there ushering, helping people to their seats. The lights went dark. Everybody started screaming. And and then they came on and they dropped that, I gotta catch the beat, do 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 do, and it was him with a backpack with his collar up. It was the young Kanye, college dropout, who everybody loved, man. And boy, when you think back at that Kanye and you look at now, it's like two totally different people. But hey, appreciate y'all coming over and watching, man. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.